So this is the AJH Synth Ring SM. Now the Ring SM is a ring modulating, sub-bass generating mixer, a 3-part system. So first, a ring modulator has a carrier and a modulator signal, usually an X and a Y input. So we have the X input, a Y input, level for X and Y in, and a ring modulator level that is channel 1 on this mixer. We can just plug 5 inputs into these bottom signals and have a 5-way mixer with an output level and an output jack. The X input also normals to channel 2. So if we had some aggressive ring mod and we wanted to blend a bit of the original signal back in, we could. We can also blend in the Y signal as well, even turning down the ring mod. It works freely. We have a -1 sub-generating octave generator, and this is based on that X input. So we could have a signal coming through, ring modulated against something else with an octave underneath, and a -2 octaves sub-generator as well. So it's really easy to go way beyond ring modulation. Alan at AJH Synth, when he first told me about this, said it was like a ring modulator for people that don't like ring modulation. It's a warm, vintage 1960s discrete ring modulator circuit that sounds fantastic. The mixer is a 1970s Moog CP3 based clipping saturating mixer. It's just fantastic for creating weight, subs, interest, movement, ring modulation, a whole range of tones beyond the kind of sci-fi clangorous ring mod that you might have in mind. So let's check out the features, then get into some patches. But before we do that, I should say there is a Z input. Now this doesn't tie into the mixer, but it's a second Y input. So we have our X input and 2 modulators, and that Z input has a slightly different phase relationship in the circuit, so it's slightly more resonant in character compared to just using the Y. Another little AGH bonus on this module. Let's get stuck in. So first, let's check out the sounds and features of the Ring SM. Now I have this green wave on the Mordax data, this lower pitched sine triangle-ish wave. It's a filtered triangle from Mutable Instrument Tides. That's in the X input. Now the X input does have an actual pass-through to mix it in. So if I turn this up, we can see and hear that's what's passing through on this yellow trace, which is the output of the Ring SM. Now my Y input is this faster sine wave, the blue trace, and again there's a Y mix kind of pass through to the mixer section. And there we go. But the X and Y ins have input levels to feed the ring modulator. So with the ring modulator level up, let's turn up the X and the Y, and we will get ring mod at the output. It's a great warm sounding ring mod, and we can actually drive this a little bit as well. Notice if we back that off. It's just a little bit more hair on there, and some of that is the clipping from this Moog CP3 based circuit on the mixer. We also get the Z input, and I can kill the Y input altogether and modulate this from something else. Again, there's that drive. Nice bit of hair on it. We can mix the Z and the Y input. Of course, back it off to clean it up as well. Now, if we feel that we've lost some of our fundamental tone, we can turn up the X mix and get this lower input wave into the mixer against the ring mod output. And again, this Moog CP3 circuit will clip, so we might actually need to notch this down from full level if you don't want the saturation. We also get the two subwave generators when we don't plug anything into input 4 or 5, and this is based on the X input. So we'll get this shaped sine wave, kind of skewed, part clipped sine, much more musical and full and warm, not that kind of flabby, overly done square wave subs that tend to eat up too much space in a mix. So here's -1 sub against the dry X sound. -2 sub. With that clipping. So it's deep and kind of warm and woolly, but it's not that flab and overly done square wave sub that so many kind of default circuits create. So we can have ring mod that's a three-way and a sub and a -2 sub, and blend in bits of the X or Y as well. Now with this Z input modulating the X input, let's get the waveform from the oscillator that's providing the Z input. Unfortunately, that one just didn't fit on screen, modulating itself. Let's mix in some of the Y. Some sub. We can create a super rich, clipped, distorted, fattened out waveform from this. It is not basic ring modulation in sound, in features, and in execution. It's perfect for a couple of oscillators to give you all these extra sounds for your patches. So let's get into some other patches. So here, let's look at using the Ring SM to really kind of pimp up, for want of a better term, a single oscillator. Now the oscillator is Mutable Instruments Tides. Its waveform is coming into this top channel on the Mordax data, the green trace up top. Tides has an onboard level control, so this is a full kind of synth voice with a modulated waveform and already having some level control. If I turn up the X mix, we can hear that single X input on its own. So that's Tides by itself. Now, turning up the ring modulator level, I don't actually have a Y input or a Z input, but I have this double switch which will modulate the X input against itself to create an octave up frequency doubling effect. So that's now the ring mod. Here's the original X input. Ring mod again. Both together. as the X input is already level modulated, and I'll kill the reverb and just show you these one more time. X input. Frequency doubled ring mod. As the sound's cutting in and out, the subs will as well. And that -1 sub really adds some weight and warmth to the X input. And as the kind of envelope on the sub is slightly different, it's just creating a sub tracking the input. It's not the same envelope. There's no way of controlling the sub. It's not a VCA. So we get this kind of lazier feel in the low end. It works really well against the kick. We've also got the -2 sub. Nice and subby. Obviously listen in good headphones or speakers. Both octaves together. The octave up frequency doubled sound. And the dry sound. So it can really add weight, character, subs, width, octaves to a single oscillator or voice. Now Tides has a couple of other outputs, one that doesn't follow its own level control, and that's on the third input. Right here, that's the blue trace, this third input. Yellow trace was the Ring SM's output. Let's turn that up. Now we can push and drive the subs and X input so much we can kind of choke in and out that droning input free. I just love that really pushed, thick sound. Let's add some reverb back in. And the kick. I should say that reverb is the AJH Synth Finalizer REQ. So for this final patch, let's explore ring modulating, some percussion, and a kind of full track. I have an X input that we're currently listening to, a Y input, which is going to be my ring mod source. The X input is this green input trace on the data. Y input, the blue trace. It's just the rate of my modulation. And the yellow trace, the output of the Ring SM, as it has been through the video. Now let's just listen to my X input, the kind of dry, unprocessed input first. There's already lots of effects, some buffer-free stuff, some compression, kick, snare, hi-hats, chord hit, a little bit of delay as well, a little noise hit. Quite a complex beat. Now, if I listen to the Y, this triangle, that's what we're going to ring mod it against. So let's turn up the ring mod. So we could just pick out a tone that we think works against the beat and blend the ring mod with the X input, the beat itself. What gets more interesting is when we actually sequence the oscillator providing the Y input. Now it's not an in-tune sequence, but that's what's now coming into the Y input. It means that ring mod's dancing around in time, being sequenced, pushed and pulled with the beat. Much more animated, much more interesting. Let's just tune it up a bit. So the Ring SM is a real powerhouse of ring modulation, freeway XYZ ring modulation, mixer Moog 1970s CP3 style clipping and saturating mixer circuit, sub generator that's warm and woolly and thick but not overly flabby like square waves can be, frequency doubling, mega octave generating, little bundle of awesomeness. It's a hell of a lot in the size, and another great module from AJH Synth. Thanks for tuning in, and be sure to check out other modular videos on the Future Music YouTube channel.